Alright, so I know the shop is full. Lots to do on the GTO, lots to do on the little Ranger and everything in the corner. I have the 454, which is going together tomorrow. I have this Cummins, which is going on a Studebaker truck. But as a boss, I also need to prepare for months from now. And that's what this is. This is a 24 valve, 2001, I believe, with no VP pump, because it's going P pumped. I've been wanting to do this for a while. I was gonna throw it in my truck originally when we had the time and enough Patreon money, but I got another place for this one. It's gonna be pretty cool. Stick around. I think it has been sitting for a while. It's got a little bit of like surface rust there. I took it and rubbed it off already. You can see it. See down there? It does rub right off. And then there is a crosshatch. Yeah, see it? There we go. And again, a little more surface rust. I'll have to run a hone through there for sure. But perfect little candidate. Oh jeez. Oh frick. It's like we're in Australia. That scared the crap out of me. I saw something move. What's going on? What's going on? I bet they get that. Oh no, don't go inside there. Jeez. That's the first sign of a good Cummins. So this is the 24 valve head that we pulled off. I sent it out to my machine shop and they took a good looking over. Okay, so we're here at Northtown Machine with Scott. Scott's been doing all my machining for the last couple of years. So what would you do to the head?
Right off the bat, we'll throw it right in the hot tank, get it all cleaned up. I don't like to work on anything dirty.
I pressure washed it for you,
yeah,
but
not good enough.
No.
And then what we'll do is we'll pull all the valves out and Magnaflux the head first to start looking for any cracks. They're prone for cracking between the seats, mostly because earlier style heads don't have hardened seats in them. They're just a cast flame hardened seat. So if there is cracks, we'll check for that. We'll cut them out and install new hardened seats.
Awesome. And then deck it, and obviously.
Yeah. After that, we'll go to a pressure test. After all the seats are installed, we'll put up on our pressure test bench, get up to around 60 psi. Make sure there is absolutely no issues for you. Same with your frost plugs and stuff. Then we start with resurfacing, valve job.
Okay. And then off to Australia she goes. Thanks, man.
Yep, no problem.
All right, so first things first, after a quick visual, a visual won't tell you a whole lot because some of the cracks and whatnot only appear when the head gets up to operating temperature and the metals expand. So unless there's something massive visually, the first thing Northtown does is to pressure check the head. Do this by putting it on their bench, securing the head down, and then covering each one of the coolant ports that connects to the engine block. Then they cover the thermostat housing, and then they pressurize it to about 5 pounds above operating pressure, which if you have the 15 PSI rad cap, probably up to about 20 PSI just to make sure. passes the pressure test, it's time to disassemble it. Just a light tap on the top of the valve will break the keepers free, and then we can disassemble the valves. We want to take all the valves out, find a good valve that has very little wear, measure it, make sure that the valve itself isn't wore on the stem, and then use that to check the valve guides. Valve guides is the first step to machining the head, because the guides not only guide the valve, but it guides the tools to do the seat grinding. So find a good valve, clean it off, and stick it in the hole and do a wiggle test. That definitely failed the wiggle test. Next step is to clean the seats with a wire brush. Just roughly all the seats will be machined and the head will be resurfaced. And the only purpose for this rough cleaning is to show the cracks during a Magnaflux test. Magnaflux is just a giant magnet on either side of the valve seat. Filings will show cracks that are not visible to the naked eye. Check it. All of the seats that have cracks in them will be replaced with hardened seats. If you're doing a high performance build, you probably want to replace all of them. If you want to stay within budget, because there are so many valves, you can just replace the ones that are just cracked. Here we're just cleaning every one of the valves on a wire wheel just to knock off all the carbon before they get resurfaced. Check it. Here they're installing bronze liners and then just a quick clean afterwards. All right, this is always my favorite part of the job, is resurfacing the head. Once we know that everything else is good and it's worth saving, then off comes enough material to make it perfectly flat again. Now, there's a lot of stuff to consider when doing this. You're taking material off the head. Essentially, you're bringing the valves closer to the pistons. Diesels have very close tolerances, meaning that if you are off by a few thou, you'll run into hard starts and low power because of a 17 to low 20s to 1 compression. But you can make up with that by grinding the seats just a little bit lower so the valves are in the proper space. When you do that, you change the valve spring tension, so that needs to be considered. Also, when you take material off the top of the engine block, now your pistons are protruding farther. All of this needs to be within thousandths of an inch, which is why we bring it to Northtown Machine, who has all the proper tools, and I can sleep good at night knowing that this engine will be up to its full potential. Now that our guides are proper, the machine to grind the seats to make room for the hardened seats follows the guide and is cut just enough to insert the seat. Now the seat is a press fit. I believe they freeze them to make them fit, and then it's a press fit. If this isn't done properly, you'll drop a valve seat, if you've heard that, and basically destroy your engine. Now with new hardened seats, they can match the seats to the valves, having the perfect grind on the valves, matching the valve seats. It's brand spanking new to the height that is OEM with the resurface. After that's all done, it goes in the hot tank and blown out and inspected again, cleaned, and ready for final assembly. not sure what they're doing. If you can read what's on that can, I have no idea what that is or what they're doing here, so definitely comment down below as to what this step. I'm not sure about this step. They crack between the seats?
Yep.
Yeah, and that's
between the seats, from the seats, you can't see right now. Do you want me to cut it open for you?
Yeah, that's
because there's still a couple cracks. Majority of all the cracks are just in the seats because this is a cast seat.
Okay.
It's a flame hardened seat, not an installed seat.
Okay.
So then we go looking through. There's still a couple little ones, but when they go to the injector, so you can just see the edge of that right there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So I have never seen one leak right from the seat to the injector. I've never seen one leak.
Okay.
Or develop a leak after. So we changed the seats out because they're flame hardened.
Yeah.
But when there's a crack in it, it doesn't seal now. So if you get a different height from the valve from heat, then you won't get a seal. You'll burn a valve, and that's what cooks it. So we cut the whole crack out and then installed the seat. There's the one that you can just see the little tiny crack still there, but it won't develop any farther.
Right, because you've got the new seat in it. Yeah, yeah.
So then we go ahead, we cut our heights down, and then cut the valve, and then do a full valve job. It's still pretty fresh, still pretty wet. Yeah, we just dip that and clean it up right.
Yeah.
Like getting you one of these, or got some offset thing?
I think we get one in the kit that's actually offset, but you can go and hang that on your wall. I'll sign that for you or something. For the next episode, you're gonna have to jump over to Skid Factory's YouTube channel, and we'll put the link down below. We're gonna be covering the teardown of the two engines and the building of the short block on their channel. Then we'll jump back and we'll get right back into the head and the injection system and what's involved in swapping the two heads and pistons and whatever else we need to make our perfect Cummins, if you will, 24 valve P pump. Here we go.
Ah, I hate snakes. I hate snakes. You knob.
I'm gonna throw you in the pond.
No, don't bite me. Ah.
Hey, I'm Al from the Skid Factory, and you're watching DEBOSS Garage.